This is the Mautic, all about open source marketing automation with Mautic. And here is your host, Eki Gembel.
Hello everybody, welcome to this episode of the Mautic, which is the first episode in fact. Well, it is not really the very first because we do have an episode 0. If you haven't heard that, you may want to rewind and listen to that one first. It's a little bit of an explanation about this podcast and the hosts and the idea behind it. And when I say the hosts, with me today is Leon. Hi, Leon.
How are you doing? Hey, how are you doing?
Well, I'm pretty good. A little bit of hangover from yesterday. We had a bit of a party last night here in the agency.
Yeah.
But it was big fun. Yeah, we do have a lot to talk about. We'll have Alan Hartless in the interview later in this episode.
Yeah.
But I want to start with something that happened early November, and that is the Mautic Summit in Amsterdam. And the Mautic Summit is something that didn't exist previously. What is it? It is basically a personal meetup of everybody interested in Mautic and interested in joining worldwide. So we had a lot of people from the US, basically Acquia people, and a lot of people from here in Europe, and mostly community people. And the majority of those, in total it was like 20 people, the majority was coders, developers. And their major goal for this thing was to have a code sprint for Mautic 3, but also to get together, get to know each other in person, and get organized. And that is also true for everybody else who is not coding, like you and me.
Yeah.
So we had also a lot to do, but it was also super valuable to get to know each other in person and not only from online conferences, etc.
Yeah.
So on our side, the task was much broader than quote unquote just coding.
Just.
What we had to do or wanted to do was finalize the team structure for Mautic going forward, plus get some actual work done within these teams. And starting point was the latest governance model, and we took this into reality, stripped it down a little bit, replaced one team. So we now have product and marketing as 2 teams. We have community and enablement or education, which is new. And instead, the events team has been migrated into the community team. Plus, we do have law and finance, which is an afterthought at this point. We let Acquia handle that as long as people step up and want to do that. But the other 4 teams are much more important. Yeah, so that was pretty. It sounds simple, but it was a really good discussion and not really easy to find the best cuts. And what we did was write a description for every team. What are the tasks? So boiling down into what is the mission, but also giving a lot of examples of what is actually the to-do items. And that also showed us clearly that there is a lot of overlap between the teams. And it needs this clear distinction, definition to understand, okay, who is responsible for the forums, who is responsible for feature roadmap, stuff like that. Yeah, that was good. And then the rest of the day, we tackled some of the work already and organized the follow-up steps, which are what's happening now. So there have periods of call for participation or call for comments. And now we're in the middle of a series of phone calls within every team to get started, to get all those volunteers on board that show up. We're still very open for more new volunteers or even old who were previously active. So if you are interested, if you are considering community contribution for Mautic, you are more than welcome. We try to make it very easy to get on board, to start with simple tasks and slowly and find out whether it's the right thing for you or not.
Quick question. You just talked about the telephone called conference. Can everybody join in there, or can everybody contribute even in these telephone calls?
Of course, yeah. Everything is completely open and transparent. We don't do actual telephone calls. We do online meetings like Jitsi Meet these days, which do an automated recording too. So if you just want to listen in after the fact, that's also possible. You find everything in Slack and in the forums.
Yeah.
And we also have meeting notes and everything is public. So complete transparency there. Yeah, back to the summit. It was a long day. We started at 9. Our journey started something 4 in the morning.
Something like that.
And we started at 9 in Amsterdam. We worked until 7 in the evening.
Around that, yeah.
Had a beer or two afterwards and then headed back to Hanover in our case. The developers even added an extra day.
Yeah.
So booked another room for Saturday and kept coding. Yeah, thumbs up, guys and gals. So that's the Mautic Summit. I think we were all excited about it and were super happy how well it went. And everybody said we need to do that again and more frequently.
Yeah.
So the decision was made to do this now twice a year, probably once in the US or Canada and once in Europe for starters, but that's going to evolve over time, I'm sure. Yeah, cool thing. There's also a couple of blog posts and reports out there, and I'll link to that and as well to the team descriptions in the show notes as always.
Yeah.
Good. Next up on our mind here is a trade show that's coming up next week. We're going to present Mautic on a booth at Marketing Underground, which is like 4,000 or 5,000 marketing guys and gals in Berlin.
Yep.
One day, long day, but I'm sure it's going to be super interesting for us.
It will be,
and hopefully super successful for Mautic. So that's keeping us busy. And before we go to the interview, I'd like to talk about one feature, like we intend to do more frequently.
Yep.
Pick a feature that is not super well known. In this case, we picked A/B testing. So A/B testing is something that's not new. It's pretty well known in the world of Google Ads, but also in websites in general. And in other places too. And Mautic does do A/B testing too. That's not news, but in my experience, few people really use it. And when they want to look at it, they don't even find it. Yeah, we're talking about A/B testing for emails here.
Yeah.
Mautic can do landing pages too, but I think email is much more interesting for most people these days. So it is a well-known concept, but it's well hidden. So I'd like to just give a quick introduction. The concept, just for those who are not completely aware of what it is, if you have more than one idea of how to solve a problem, but you don't know which is the best one, you can either guess or you can try it out. And in marketing, we love to try things out, and that's A/B testing by doing one thing for a given number or time or whatever and doing the other thing and then compare the results.
Yeah.
For emails, you can say, okay, I have 2 flavors of this email. I send out 1,000 of this and 1,000 of that and decide which one is better. Yeah. So one thing I need to make up my mind about is how do I know which one is better? What is the criteria? Is it the open rate? Is it the click-through rate? Is it download rate or whatever? And the other thing is I need a tool that allows me to do that and allows me to say, okay, 50% here and 50 there, or even 20% here and 80 there, whatever the ratio is. And of course, I want to see the results. And again, that's exactly what Mautic does. Problem is, people don't find it, and people are shy to use it, but it doesn't hurt, I promise. So where to find it?
Yeah, where do we find it?
Maybe we should add a screenshot to the show notes in this case. But it's not too hard. The trick is you create your first email. Within the same email, in the upper right corner, you have a little drop down, and there you can create an A/B variant. So that gives you a copy of the existing email. You don't just create two and glue them together. Within the existing email, you create a copy and can then modify starting from the original. So change the subject line, change the wording, change the colors, whatever. Ideally, not change everything at a time because you don't know what was the cause. Yeah, and then you can save it. And when you do save it, you have a tab that's called variants and can look at all the variants and the ratios. And plus, you have a button to view the results, if any. And by the way, in the overview list, you now have a little icon next to the email that is like a tree icon. And it tells you, hey, here's an A/B test behind it.
So if I define that the opening rate is my criteria for which one is the better email, is there like an automatic choosing by Mautic?
It will tell you the winner, but it will do nothing with this information. It leaves it up to you to say, okay, I want to give 100% to the winner now, or I want to iterate on the learning or whatever. No, there's no AI that changes campaigns for you.
Yeah.
Maybe future version, I don't know.
Not yet.
Yeah, true. Yeah, as I said, this it's really surprising sometimes, so do give it a try. It's really 3 minutes to create a thing like that, and it's valuable information.
Yeah.
As I said, it's for landing pages too. What is not available is A/B testing for focus items.
True.
And that's really a feature wish of mine, because I frequently ask myself, but also get asked by customers, do we know whether this focus item actually does anything? Does it help? Is it better than nothing? Or we have two flavors, and then which one is better? We're back to speculating unless we test, and there's no A/B test for focus items right now. So we already did the experiment and tried to get all the information out of the database.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard stuff and also hard coded, not reusable. But it would be really, really nice to have that just in the product.
Oh yeah, it would be.
It is much more complex than email, but it would be super cool. So that's a wish list item for me.
Yeah.
Good. What else do we have before we go to the interview? We did talk about community a lot already. Again, we are looking for volunteers, for people who are interested to help out for the global teams. Do look at the show notes for the links. The other thing that's new is the Mautic swag shop.
Yeah.
So we now have hoodies, coffee cups,
t-shirts,
ties, I don't know, socks probably. So everything you can think of in a Spreadshirt shop that has been set up by Ruth, our community manager, and in different colors and styles and everything.
Yeah.
And we did order our swag already. We're wearing it now. We're super happy with it.
Super comfortable, yeah.
So give it a shot, take a look, pick your weapon. Good. Let's go to the interview. What do you think?
Yeah, super excited.
Okay, I did record this with Alan previously, so here you go. Okay. Welcome, Alan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining me for talking about Mautic 3 and a couple things around it. So for all who are not familiar with your name, if any, you're Alan Hartless, and as far as I understand, you're not only the lead developer on Mautic 3, but always the lead developer of Mautic in general from day one. Is that right?
Historically, yes. Now my role has shifted a little bit more into management, but I'm still involved in the project and leading Mautic 3 and the roadmap a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the code that's there today is as a result of of my fingers, for better or for worse.
Yeah, it's easy to see. Is there some sort of a release manager like we have for minor releases for Mautic 3?
Yes. So right now we haven't named someone officially. Aquia, our team, there's a lot of interested parties in Mautic 3 just because of the nature of it, where we're looking to upgrade end of life dependencies. So right now it's more of a joint effort, and then once we get at a good place where we feel comfortable that Mautic 3 can stand on its own, we will delegate someone to actually manage the itself.
Okay, cool. Let's go back a little bit in history, and I'm really curious to learn how it came to this contact of DB and yours, and the idea of Mautic and the name of Mautic, and how it all got started. I know you kind of met in the surroundings of Joomla, but that's pretty much all from my side.
Yeah, it started out with some early projects DB had that I used as a consumer, and so started submitting some code to fix little bugs here and there, and that's kind of how we at least our names got known to each other. And then from that, through Joomla itself and various projects, we just kind of grew a friendship. And so I was in nursing, and then actually at the time I was training physicians on how to use electronic medical records, and DB called me up. I was visiting the East Coast, my family from Virginia. I'm currently in Houston, and so we were visiting there, and he called me up. He's like, "Hey, can you take a trip down? I have a proposition for you." And so he kind of just laid out his vision of Mautic and this open source community that would bring the first marketing automation solution, and just it won me over. So I said, "Okay, I'll jump on board."
Cool.
And so here we are today.
Yeah, and just out of curiosity, was it the name Mautic already around at that point?
It was. Yeah, he had already been thinking over things. He'd already got the brand and the logo and everything. So it was just at the point of starting to write code.
Wow. Okie doke. Yeah, there's a lot of fascinating career steps on your side, as you said, with the nursing and the web portal or whatever it was. Maybe on our next chat, I'd like to learn a bit more of that background. But today, there's such a lot of things related to Mautic 3 that maybe we should go to that right now. Before we actually go to 3, one question: 2.16. Will that ever see the light now?
It's a good question. I guess it depends on how far we get and how quickly we get with Mautic 3. Right now, we're focused on Mautic 3 just because of the timing and nature of it with Symfony End of Life 2.8. So if it gets to the point to where we feel like we need a 2.16, then we will. But right now, it is not planned.
Okay. If you give me the big picture about Mautic 3, is it a purely under the hoods release, or is there anything, any features or anything beyond that?
Yeah, right now it's pretty much just purely under the hood. So the goal of Mautic 3 is to really upgrade our core, our foundation, because Symfony 2.8 is end of life, and so we want to upgrade it Symfony 3 along with other vendors such as jQuery and SwiftMailer and these other things that are already end of life, and then also to kind of bump our PHP dependencies to supported versions so that it just sets us up to move forward. As far as security and stability and having that good foundation, and buys time so that we can really start looking at some exciting new features come next year.
So, in other words, for the user, if everything goes as planned, it will pretty much look the same as before, have the same features as before, or less features, or a bit more?
Right now, it'll be the same features that are planned. There'll be some changes from the developer point of view, like for plugins and things. There may be some differences, but from the day to day, it'll look the same. It'll act the same. There won't be any major new features. There will be a migration path that we haven't written out specifically yet, but other than that, it'll be just business as usual for the most part.
Yeah, which is a solid plan, I guess, and then the features will come in the next release, I presume.
Yeah. We're with that collaborative effort with the community to determine what those features are going into next year. But this sets us up to be able to do that.
Okay, I'm pretty sure there will be no shortage of feature ideas, etc. More the priority of those.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah. Okay. Before we go there, you already mentioned the migration path, etc. So the big idea, or the idea would be that an existing Mautic instance could be upgraded to version 3 more or less easily. Not talking about plugins, but from the core and database perspective.
Yes, we don't have a clear path yet, just because we're still early work in progress for the Mautic 3 itself. But I don't expect anything major. Ideally, we could automate it, but there may be some manual intervention. But we would make that clear. And so far from just the development side, I don't expect that to be a major effort. So the main thing, of course, would be making sure plugins continue to be compatible and things like that.
Yeah, does that mean the plugins do not need to be upgraded? Of course they have to, right?
Yeah, so if there will be or could be some changes in plugins, not all plugins will be required to be changed out of the box, but there could be some similar to what we're having to do with Mautic itself, which is changing some Symfony 2.8 code to Symfony 3 code. Things like that could make a plugin incompatible with Mautic 3.
Okay, and right now there is a set of plugins that comes with the Mautic core product. Are those plugins all maintained by you guys and gals?
Yeah, there's a core set. The same plugins that are available today in core will continue to be available in Mautic 3. That may change in the future, but for now they'll remain there, and we are also upgrading those plugins to be compatible. So anything that we provide through the Mautic installation will be compatible.
Mm-hmm. And if I am a provider of a third-party plugin, at what point should I start upgrading that plugin? Would that be the first beta, which is stable enough to start doing that, or better wait until the release, or what's your recommendation?
That is an excellent question. Something we probably need to discuss with the broader developer community. But you can even start now, like doing the same things that we're doing with Mautic 3, which is just making sure there's no Symfony deprecated code from the 2 series.
Yeah. Mm.
So that is something that can be done now. It can be tested in Mautic 2 and set you up for readiness for Mautic 3. Mm. But then other than that, it'd probably be late alpha, early beta before we'll do that. But we'll make an announcement saying, hey, here's the deprecated code that we have removed, the changes that are required, and that will give opportunity for plugin developers to get that code up to date.
Yeah, cool. The API is not going to change, is it?
No.
Cool.
The only thing that may change is some deprecated code. For example, there was some code that we had that would return both lead and contact, because we had a moment where we changed the terminology lead to contact. So there may be some areas like that we will remove the duplicated lead in the response.
Yeah.
But we'll document that and communicate it.
Nice. We did not yet touch on the timeline, and I kind of expect that there is not a solid timeline that you can tell me now, or is there one?
There isn't. I mean, as quick as possible, but we don't have a set deadline or timeline.
Okay. In preparation for that, if I'm the administrator of a Mautic self-hosted installation, in my experience, it makes sense to do testing anyway. And specifically here, obviously, there are those conservative policies like don't use the .0 version anyway. But even if you are at 0.2 or something, you will want to test properly. And I have a feeling that many don't have a proper test environment. I mean, a development environment on a laptop is something else, but a staging environment, I I'm not mistaken if I say you should absolutely start preparing that now, right?
Yes. I always recommend any major upgrades to test and back up. In an ideal world, everything goes smooth, but there's always the chance that there's a hiccup.
Yeah, common wisdom, but still not always done. Yes, as long as you test anyway. And SaaS customers don't have to care, do they?
No. The SaaS customers for Acquia, we'll take care of that on our end.
Including migration and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Good. For the developers, but you are an existing team. There was this great point in Amsterdam when the people from all over the world met as a team for the first time in person. And how did the second day go? I mean, for those listening here, we did talk about the Mautic Summit in Amsterdam on a Friday, and the developers added a second day on a Saturday, as far as I know. But as I'm not a developer, I have no insights how that went.
It was a good day. We continued to work, through the project board and to upgrade the bundles from Symfony deprecated code to Symfony 3 code, and so made some good progress. And it was a fun day. It's always a fun day to send program.
Oh yeah, team experience. What would you say? What percentage of the code gets refactored in the process?
That's a good question. The majority of the deprecations are in Symfony forms because we make heavy use of Symfony forms. Now we have a bit of Mautic deprecated code from over time as Mautic has evolved, and we have to decide that we're going to remove now or leave until the next major version. But I don't know that I can answer a specific percentage.
Oh no, but it's just a big picture. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that team, I mean, obviously not everybody involved was able to be present in the Netherlands. There are people around the world helping out, and I've been hearing from other guys who might be interested in joining in, but fear it's too late. And I always tell them that they can still help, if nothing else, and by testing. Is that the best answer?
Yeah, it's never too late. We still have our project board, so if you're a developer, definitely jump in, grab an issue, jump in our community chat channel for the Slack channel, and just say, hey, how can I help? And then we'll get you up to date really quick. And then there's always opportunities for testing PRs and getting those merged, or we'll get to a point to where we'll have instructions for how to install Mautic 3, and then we could just start testing that against anything that could be broken or finding anything that could be broken from the upgrade itself, just to giving it a good test run for the product.
And that does not only include developers, right?
Anyone who knows how to use Mautic.
Yeah, and there's a good blog post out there from Norman Pracht about how to test and how to simply do testing with an existing environment called the Mautic box. Is there any idea to give non-developers a way to communicate their issues that they find, their feature requests that they have, etc.? Because in my experience, the vast majority of Mautic users is not developers, and they have no clue about GitHub at all and are afraid to touch it.
Yeah, that might be a question better suited for Ruth. I have the keys and the permissions to be able to make changes in GitHub, but I'm not the one to make necessarily the decisions to what's visible and what's not. So, of course, anything that as a community we feel could be improved, that there's definitely, please speak up, and so that we could start planning and then figuring out how to make that happen or solve those pain points. But I think that's a question more geared for Ruth as the community governance evolves.
Yeah, I understand it's certainly not on the agenda anyway, or it's at least not a priority. I was just curious where there has been some pre-existing discussions about it.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, I guess that they give me a picture of what to expect with Mautic 3, and I hope that's helping everybody else understand better what's coming down the road. I've a couple of general questions left for you, and one that is always on my mind is how to stay up to date in the world of Mautic. What is the latest idea? It's not like we have a lack of ideas, but the latest and greatest and concepts to learn from, etc. Do you, as an individual, or do you, as the Acquia team or whoever, do you have ways of organizing that sort of learning?
Yeah, not formally with our team, but I personally follow tags and articles on LinkedIn to kind of keep up with some of the Mautic things that are going on out there and the new technologies, and then of course our own marketing team writes quite a bit of stuff that they'll publish on our blog or on LinkedIn that gives some good insights into just marketing best practices as well.
Okay, so anything else you want to mention about Mautic 3 or anything around it?
Just really get, we welcome anybody and everybody to get involved. We're really looking towards a collaborative effort going forward between, the Acquia team and everyone else in the community. We see ourselves as part of the community. So we would love to see more people join from the developer aspect and then testing aspect. And I know that you and Ruth and the others have a lot of things to join in, or opportunities for others to jump in as well as we build this community, because it takes so many people and parts and roles to make it successful, and so we're looking forward to really building that up.
Yeah, and so do we. So thank you, folks, for doing all the hard work and making it happen. And I'm very much looking forward to Mautic 3. And once that is done, I'm completely excited about the improved processes and the outcomes of all that. So, thank you very much for your time today, and I hope we can repeat this one day.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye, Alan. Wow, that was a lot of information, huh, Leon?
A bit overwhelming, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so before we wrap it up here, let's have a brief look at what's coming up or what's next in the Mautic world. Obviously, Mautic 3,
yeah,
we did talk about that, and a lot of things going on around that. Also, those initial team calls that we talked about.
Yeah.
Still a good time to jump on the wagon there. And because there's a lot of things and a lot of calls and a lot of dates, there's one quick fix that we decided to do on Mautic.org, and that is to set up an event calendar where you can see when are which calls, where's the conference going on, where's a Mautic camp in which country, and so on.
Yeah, super helpful.
Yeah. We've been missing that for a long time.
Yeah.
And now Ruth has the right access to Mautic.org. Hooray! Good. So thank you so much for listening, and we're back in 14 days, and I hope so are you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.